Feelings are the lights on the dashboard of life. And that means, like, if you're driving a car, there's certain lights that'll light up from time to time. Maybe you're out of fuel. Maybe you need oil. Maybe you need some sort of an adjustment. But the emotions are the things that in this taxi or car will give me an indication that something's not quite right.
Shalom and welcome to Beyond Circumstances. So it's lovely to have you with us. And today's guest is Dr. Chérie Carter-Scott, who is a dear friend and someone that I love and admire. And I am going to let you, Shiri, introduce yourself.
Great. Shiri, it's wonderful to be here with you and your listeners and viewers. And I just want you to know that I'm thrilled and honored to be here. So I'll tell you a little bit about me, audience. I am called by my students the mother of coaching. Why am I called that? Well, to the best of our knowledge, I've been coaching for longer than anyone we know. Since 1974, when I started coaching in San Francisco, California. I've been coaching ever since and training coaches ever since. So that's why people, specifically my students who say, gosh, you're so old, you must have been the oldest coach. And I said, no, Socrates was the first, but I've been coaching this lifetime for quite a while. So that's number one. Number two, I am the #1 New York Times best-selling author of If Life is a Game, These Are the Rules, which you may know, sold about 5 million copies globally. And recently I wrote my autobiography, which was based on the 10 rules for being human. And I'll just show you what it looks like because it's kind of fun. There's the book.
I love it.
And this is the book that sold 5 million copies. And that's me now. I still kind of look like that. Anyway, that's me now. And this goes through every different iteration of my life. And then what did I learn from that? And then I asked the reader, what could you learn from this? What could you take away with you that would be valuable for you in being able to visit what I did? And so it's meant as a reflection. It's not about me and about my life. It's more about you, the reader, and what you glean from that. But the 10 rules are universal truths that are meant to unite us in our humanity. So anything else I can tell you about me? You betcha. I'm married. I have a child. I have 2 grandchildren. And more than anything, I had a very dysfunctional childhood, which helped me find myself and helped me find my purpose and my direction and my guidance. So it was kind of out of the flames or the ashes came the phoenix. And I did emerge knowing clearly why I was put on this earth, which is one of the things I help other people find out. Why am I here? What am I supposed to do, etc. So I do teach coaching. I teach it on a platform that is global and depends upon whether you're a night person, a morning person, afternoon person. But people tune in from all different time zones all over the world. And I'm very flattered to know that they get up, some of them in the middle of the night, because they want to be a part of it. Love it. And I'm doing it because people say, well, shouldn't you be retired by now? And I said, well, when people retire, they usually leave a job that they didn't like in the first place to be able to do what they want to do. But I've been doing what I love for 51 years. And I love it passionately. Why would I stop doing that? So I'll do it probably until I keel over one day. That's enough about me.
Okay. And I just want to say that as someone that has a coaching school for advanced coaches, I love your graduates. So if you're considering becoming a professional medical coach, if you're considering becoming a professional coach, see, I'm so wrapped up in my own things. Please, please, please consider MMS. Really, really good training. So like I said, I love your graduates.
Thank you.
So let's jump into it, beyond the circumstances. And so we had a few minutes to discuss the questions, but I actually want to surprise you with something, okay? Okay. So one of the biggest challenges coaches face in helping clients navigate their life circumstances is when clients reach a place where they feel overwhelmed, completely unresourceful, they feel stuck, they even feel lost. So in your experience, what is one thing that most people get wrong when they're trying to move beyond the circumstances of a specific life event or an ongoing situation?
They don't acknowledge what's happening. They try to pretend that it is business as usual, or that nothing's changed, or that they should just, straighten up and pull themselves together. It's bigger than that. Overwhelm and breakdown really are a wake-up call. And most people don't wake up until much later. They just think, oh, it's just a phase. I have a cold. Something is just not quite right, but I need more sleep. They don't really say to themselves, this is not right and I'm not good and I need to do something to be able to find myself, connect with myself, and get back on track with who I am.
I love that perspective. Everything is connected. I believe, there's one of my teachers, Mark Walsh. He's an embodiment coach. He always says, the body is not the taxi for the brain. And it's true, that like everything that's going inside is reflected on the outside and vice versa. And there's always a request. The body's not wrong. The body's reacting. The body's talking to us. Okay, so let's talk about emotions. Okay. So here's my premise when it comes to emotions. I believe that actual emotions are not manageable. We can't manage our emotions, but we can manage ourselves within emotional states. And when we do that, we can shift into a place of choice, even if that choice is just taking a deep breath and acknowledging what I can't control and what I can control and, just acknowledging where I am at the moment. So what are some things that you have learned over the years and practice in terms of managing emotional states?
Well, emotions to me are very important. As a matter of fact, in one of my books, I quote myself saying, feelings are the lights on the dashboard of life. And that means, like, if you're driving a car, there's certain lights that'll light up from time to time. Maybe you're out of fuel. Maybe you need oil. Maybe you need some sort of an adjustment. But the emotions are the things that in this taxi or car will give me an indication that something's not quite right. And I need to pay attention to that rather than suppress it. And for the most part, people in our general society have been, until recently, operating from the neck up and not allowing themselves to feel the full breadth of emotions that happen with us as humans. I mean, some people even deny the fact that they're hungry, which is not exactly an emotion. It's a feeling, but it's not an emotion. And so I invite people to invite their emotions to come to the forefront and indicate what it is that they want the person to know.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is this invitation to invite the body, invite the emotions into the situation, just acknowledge that they're there.
Yes. Many people have not put names on the emotions that they're feeling. So we have a wheel of feelings that we use for teaching, and we ask people to look at the wheel and find themselves on the wheel and identify it, because they may be feeling something inside, but it hasn't connected with their cognition to be able to say, right now I'm feeling lonely. Right now I'm feeling despair. Right now I'm feeling ecstatic. Right now I'm feeling hopeful. They don't have the language to be able to label it as such. And so that's really part of the first step, is feeling the feeling and then seeing if you can identify it with a label that maybe sums it up.
That is so important, and I'm so happy you addressed that, because a lot of us don't have enough of a vocabulary to name the emotions. And it's difficult to deal with something that doesn't have a name. So you talked about the feeling wheels. There are a lot of those online. So I encourage you to go online and Google. You will find at least 3 or 5 or more. And that's it's a very effective tool to use with clients. Name the emotions. A lot of people, when they don't have a name for an emotion, they will go to sensations in the body. And like, I feel down, I feel tight. Or they will use metaphors. I feel blue. I feel like I am trapped in a cage. But we want to create a language. A language expands our awareness. Great. So give yourself permission to feel. Call an emotion by a name. That's great. That will take you like more than 50% of the way.
And then they can actually say to the emotion that they identify, what is it that you want me to know? What is it that I can identify or connect with that will allow me to come closer to myself?
There's so much compassion in that when we are ready to listen to ourselves. I love it. Okay. Another question. So I find that, I've been working many years with people in crisis, and I find that there are two things that can be potentially undermined by a crisis. One is our trust in ourselves. Okay. And the second is our ability to trust anchors that we created or external resources. So anchors are different truths and different things that for us, represented something that is solid and stable. So how do we help ourselves and clients rebuild confidence and clarity after a major crisis or life shift?
That's a wonderful question, and it's something that we're all having to deal with right now because we're in the middle of a crisis. And depending upon where you are and how you're positioned and what your philosophy is depends on where your viewpoint. For me, self-trust is absolutely essential to be able to live our lives and to conduct our lives according to our inner compass. When trust is gone, we need to, as you mentioned, rebuild it, reconstruct it, sometimes brick by brick. But that trust is shaken. It pulls, it's like the proverbial rug of life has been pulled out from under us, and we don't have our footing anymore. We don't have our balance. We don't have our stance. We don't know where we are or what we're doing. I'll share a little story with you, which is that I was married to a man who had some issues about, his way and my way and our differences, and we're trying to iron them out. And one day we'd had a child together, a wonderful little baby. And one day I came home from the country outside San Francisco, and I had Jennifer, who was 18 months old, with me. And I walked in the house and I called his name 3 times, louder and louder each time. And there was no answer. And that was strange because he was supposed to be home. And I looked around and I found a note. And the note said, "I've left and I'm not coming back."
Oh.
That was one of those proverbial rug moments that got pulled out from under me, where I had never been prepared for this moment. Nothing had ever set me up for, you can imagine what would happen when you. And so I really was shaken to the core. And out of that shock and disillusionment and betrayal and a variety of other emotions, I had to see if there was a way that I could start to rebuild the foundation of me, because that is what had that life quake happen to it.
So where do you begin?
I began by reaching out to people that I trusted, who I believed would not judge me for not being together and on top of it and happy and smiling and moving on, because I thought that that was how I should be, but I couldn't be that way. It was too much of a life quake. And so I reached out to my female friends and said, "I need help." And they were there and they rallied and they came to support me and to help me get back on my feet and go through the materials and find out that I was basically penniless. I had not 2 nickels to rub together because all the money was gone. That was the second shoe that dropped. And then I realized that what I had to do was to swallow my pride, go to every person that I knew and ask if they could loan me the money to pay the utility bills and to be able to get food on the table and to feed the child. Because I thought, I don't even know what to do or where to turn. Yeah. So they did. People believed in me and they said, I know you'll pay me back and that's not a problem. And here I said, whatever you can comfortably give me for this moment in time so that I can dig out from underneath the rubble that I feel is on top of me. And that's what I did initially. Reach out for help. Stop pretending that I can do it all by myself. I can't. And allow people to support me and be responsible about paying them back when I could. And I did.
So here's what I'm hearing. When you lose trust, you ask yourself, what can I trust? You reach out, you give yourself permission to say yes. And also you ask yourself what you can do. And sometimes it's just letting go of your pride. And sometimes it's just inhaling and exhaling. That's a great formula. Okay. One last question. So what are some of your top resilience building techniques or tips that you would like to share with our audience today?
Well, when you say resilience, I suspect you have a definition or a frame around that. I think our audience might need to know how you see resilience.
Okay, so for me, and I know that there are many definitions out there, but for me, resilience is the ability to bounce back. And that's pretty much aligned with the definition of the American Psychological Association. But it's not about being knocked over or falling down. It's about the ability to stand up or bounce back. So there's something to do with flexibility. There's something to do with even considering that there's a possibility of bouncing back, and that the whole concept of enduring, digging your heels and facing the storm, that's not resilience. If you look at nature, how trees survive storms, it's the flexible trees. Okay, they bend and then they straighten up again. So that's my perspective. That's how I look at resilience. What about you?
Okay, so, well, the only term that I have a little issue with is the bouncing back, because I have crawled back, but I haven't bounced back too much. And resilience to me is about finding the resources within and without to be able to come back to my essential self, who I am. And maybe that needs some redefinition because of what I experienced. But resilience to me is, it takes a lot of reflection time to be able to sort out for me, what can I do to soothe myself? What can I do to acknowledge myself? What can I do to love myself?
Yeah.
Because when I've gone through, experienced a crisis, usually it's the self-love that's missing. And as a female, I'm taking care of everybody else.
Yep.
And so the self-love is critically important, because there may not be anybody there to love me but me. And as a female, again, being there for other people, but not necessarily there for myself, being there to care for and about other people, whether it's parents, children, siblings, friends, people who need me, it's the focus out there of those people who I can care for and about that oftentimes give me definition of who I am. But what I need to do to be able to be resilient is to reconnect with myself and to see what I need to be able to function, and then beyond function.
Yeah. I think that's radical. When we're talking about self-love for women, that's a radical act of resilience, because we are programmed to be caregivers even before we have care recipients. And then we always have care recipients. Sometimes we're caregivers when we are children and we're caring for our parents.
Yes.
So that's pretty radical. Thank you for that. That is such an important perspective. So we have a few minutes left. Okay, and I want to start wrapping things up. First of all, thank you for this wonderful conversation, and thank you for being my first guest. I'm so excited. This has been a dream of mine for a long time, so having you as my first guest is just such a blessing. Right. So before we wrap this up, where and how can people find more information about you, learn about your training programs, follow and receive your words of wisdom, and get your books?
Okay.
I have them.
I know you do. Okay, so first of all, my website is drshiri.com. That's DR for Dr. Shiri, Chere, just right on the screen. You can take a picture of that and you look for drshiri.com, and that's my website, which can connect you to my books and our training programs and a variety of things that I'm doing and etc. And you'll find me there, drshiri.com. It's that easy. And then you can go to the different social media sites that you want to go to. And I'm pretty much everywhere unless somebody has objected to something I have said or done and taken me down or, pretended they were me.
So we'll have that information in the text below. Any words of wisdom before we complete? Anything else that you want to say about moving beyond circumstances?
Many of us who have been enculturated to behave the way we should behave, be it our parents or society or our religion or whatever it was, trying to be good according to the shoulds, is based on external reality and the dictates of external reality. And in order to be able to find ourselves, we have to really ask the critical question, who am I and what do I want? And want is different than should.
Yeah.
And want helps us return back to our essential self as opposed to operating in the should reality, which accommodates somebody else's perspective.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we are wrapping up this episode, and thank you everyone for joining us today. If you're a coach and you want to learn how to support your client through life's hardest challenges and how to help them move beyond circumstances, tune in to our next episodes and listen to the amazing guests that I have lined up. So thank you, everyone. Let's stay safe and let's continue making this world a better place. Thank you.